Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you another video. All right, so I come with inspiration, real inspiration, man. I just got through watching a bunch of stuff on the LSU Tigers and the Iowa State, not sure what they call them, women's national basketball highlights. And that wasn't where my journey started in regards to this. It started with Flaw J, one of the players on the team who happens to be an MC and a basketball player. And I just wanted to, I'd heard her freestyle a couple times, but I don't necessarily know all of that her history is, and I didn't know of her father and all of that. So I just did a little homework just now for the last hour or so on her and then her team and then her dad. And man, I was inspired by that entire process. Oh, it was an hour of just uplifting energy and spiritual higher frequency is what I would say that was for me. I don't even know what brought me there either. I don't know. I think I might have heard, that's what it was. I had heard about the taunting situation at LSU versus Caitlin Clark, who's a superstar young lady coming out of Iowa, who was just monstrous all throughout the tournament. She had this I guess this thing that she did where she put her hand over her face like you can't see me, that kind of thing, waving her palm in front of her face. And one of the players on the LSU Tigers did that to her, and it's like a big controversy because I guess they're pulling out the race card saying that, you know, Caitlin Clark, a white girl, did it, but now the other girl, Angel Reese, did it, and it's a problem. So I wanted to get a little update on that, figure out what it was on that so I could comment on it, because it seemed to be a real topic in the community. But when I started to look for that, it didn't take me there. When I started to actually search the search bar, I went in and actually just kind of looked into Flaw J, the MC that I was familiar with, because I had seen her picture first when I went to go put in LSU to see what was going on. It was her that popped up, and I'm like, oh, let me go see what's up with her, get familiar with her and find out how to everything do with her on the game, and just get some knowledge. And it took me on a path, man, a real path. I had found her YouTube page, and she did a documentary on her father, a dude by the name of Camouflage, hence her name, Flaugier. He named her Flaugier after him. So I was like, oh, that explains her name. Then I looked into his, at the documentary, it was about 25 minutes, and dude was powerful of an MC, very powerful MC. He had a song back in the day called Cut Friends that I actually remembered. And I didn't know that it was him. I didn't remember the song at the time until I pressed play on the video. And when I started listening to him, like, wow, that used to be my joint. I really, really liked that song back in the day. The hook was crazy. The groove was crazy. And I just, it's just like any other situation. You don't know who made the song, you know what I mean? I was one of those kids back in the day who watched BET, Uncut, BET, all the music videos all day long. Because y'all know I didn't go to school most of the time. I was sitting at home. So that's what I was doing. I was getting my knowledge up on basketball, NBA stuff, which was my passion at the time, still is, and music, which was my passion at the time, still is. Now that I make these playlists and all that, my journey started back then when I was taping videos. And I put my little VCR on, and I would just record videos. That was my thing, and I had tapes and tapes and tapes and tapes of videos. And I'm certain Camouflage video was on there at least once or twice. Because sometimes I tape the same thing twice. I'm pretty sure that song was watched many times. And so it's one of them situations where that took me back to remembering that vibe, that energy. And then from there, I watched the documentary on her dad and just heard his whole story. And it was really sad, but really powerful. They showed like a bunch of footage of him freestyling. And the dude was just severely talented, and his story was extremely sad. And it was just a situation, to make a long story short, where one of his friends had passed away, and by way of murder, and he got on the radio and said, "We'll ride for you." And I guess the very next day, it was said that he was attacked while he was holding his child, not Flaugier, who hadn't been born yet, but his 2-year-old son. They walked up to him and did him horribly, holding his son right in front of the studio in broad daylight. And it was just a whole documentary. They were just recounting his friends. Friends were talking about him and how talented he was and how much he represented his city. He was the face of the city of Savannah, Georgia back in the day. He was the first person to put Savannah on the map, basically. And also didn't know that he was Lil Boosie's cousin. I believe that's how that goes. So it was really, really interesting to just watch that 25-minute, inspirational, more or less, documentary on this young man's life. He lost his life at 21, but he was basically like a prophet. They had a lot of spiritual energy surrounding their family, and you could see how this has transpired to Flau'jae and where she's at. And that's the type of stuff I study. Man, I listen to stories about people who were deep in spiritual energy, as not necessarily like they were burning sage all day and stuff like that, but they just gave off a certain power to themselves, and you knew that they came to do something, that their energy sparked from a higher being, so to speak. And you could hear about how people speak of them, and that's what Camouflage provided. Even though he was only here for a short time, his mother recounted a story where the last time she was able to envision him, I guess, was in a dream right before he passed away. And she was, he said he had to leave, and she was screaming and all of that in her dream, and woke up to the news. That type of spiritual things. Like, I can relate to that. I know when God has his hands on people, so to speak, because those type of things surround their circumstances. You get these little, or big rather, spiritual stories about how people felt certain things when they passed, or people sensed a certain special energy around them, or people felt chills on their arms when they talk, or stuff like that. It's always an account like that. And you see the tumble forward. Years later, their kid turned out to be something, or years later, they turn out to be something, or something of that nature. It's always like that. I study these type of things. So with this situation, what I see God doing there is the Lord gave that young man a full path. He told his mother when he was 14 years old that he felt like he wasn't going to make it to be a grown man. He told his mother's child, Flau'jae's mom, that Flau'jae was going to be a girl, that he was going to name her Flau'jae, and that she would never have to apply for a job. And today she's an MC and a national champion. Like, these type of things, he was speaking on his life. He spoke on his life. He spoke on his daughter's life. He spoke on the circumstances around him. It was just a lot of stuff that was premonition type stuff that attached to this fella. And you fast forward and you see all that his daughter is able to accomplish now. She went on America's Got Talent, was the first rapper who was able to receive all unanimous gold stars. And she got up there and she was just saying, put the guns down. And I just watched her entire performance. Gave me chills, Gave me chills. Because I know that's the message that needs to be heard right now. That's the message that ultimately needed to be heard in order to save her father's life too. And how he was done and all of that. I listened to more of what was said in the documentary, and it was just simply said that, just like in a lot of situations like this, many know, but everyone's afraid to speak. It was speaking that got him killed. And so people refuse to talk. And I just think about that type of stuff. I say, that's how real it is, man. That's the reality a lot of people don't relate to, in regards to, they want to teach us how to speak up and snitch and all of that. They want to promote snitching and promote telling on people, but they don't talk about these type of stories where people are legitimately afraid, because different examples like this have made it so that people understand that it ain't as simple as telling the truth and getting good results. You tell the truth, you can get bad results. You open your mouth, you can get bad results. And unfortunately, that was also a cautionary tale here. You just saw the sadness of the whole situation, where everybody knows, but there will be no justice because everybody's fearful. And so that was a big part of the story as well. Just understanding that everybody there was basically saying, yeah, we know who did it, and we don't want to end up like that. So we ain't gonna tell. And it's like, that's just the reality of the harm of displays like that. When people go off and do horrible things, just like I was talking about at various different displays throughout these therapy sessions, when people go off and do horrible things, this is why. It's a defensive mechanism to keep them in position to stay where they at. It ain't just about being horrible and just feeding off of the horrible energy. Nah, they do stuff like that to put fear in the hearts of those who would dare stand up against them. Shoot a man with his child in broad daylight in front of a studio. That's a demonstration. That makes it so that nobody want to tell you nothing. Don't want to tell on you or nothing. And so you get to continue living as if what you did wasn't a problem, because you've effectively scared the entire community. So that's just how it works in a lot of real communities. And I think people need to understand that when they're outside of these communities, expecting that they can, that people can do something about a lot of the circumstances, within those situations. if you lived in those places and you were surrounded by those people, you would have to move the way they move in order to survive, or you would be not alive. And so that's the context I wanted to share with a lot of people who watch me who may not understand the rawness of people's lives. You may have an opportunity to stay away from that type of crap. But the reality is, if you were in it, it's a survival tactic to keep your mouth shut and to let certain things happen, unfortunately, for a lot of people in these poverty and stricken areas. They just don't have the ability to protect themselves from what the threats are. And those who are those threats definitely do. It's not only a fears factor, but it's a class separation. And so if you want to go to war, you got to have your money right. That's the reality of it, and everybody's broke. So this is what I understand. That was the mistake that Camouflage made. He spoke, and he made what was said real to everybody. So whoever heard it had to respond to it, I guess. Or, just like we always say, some opportunity saw an opportunity based on that circumstance that could have been created by those statements. Now other enemies could come in and pretend like they somebody else trying to get you because of the timing of what it is that happened there. So you just don't really know. But apparently the city of Savannah, the family and all those folks, they think it's in their best interest to leave it at that. So it's sad in a way, but you understand it. But nevertheless, you look and you see how they speak of the man and how they speak of his daughter now. And it's just a lot of anointed energy surrounding the situation, because you see his prophecy, the things that he spoke on, they all manifested, both the good and the bad. And the energy that he used in his raps, it could still be felt by people like myself 20 years later, even when the style is different and changed. You can still feel the words that came out of his mouth when he was talking about poverty, and various things, and the crackheads in the areas, and the horrors of his circumstance. He spoke on real stuff. He had like a Tupac kind of cadence to him. Of course, Pac's influence was all through that. He passed in 2003. Of course, Pac was big in like 96. So you could see that was one of his influences, huge influences. And he just spoke like him in a way. Talked about different things that really mattered to the community and poverty, that really struck home with you. And he said it in a way that kept a tone that kept your attention. So he was just a real talent, a freestyle talent that didn't get a chance to really bloom. Somebody didn't really need to write a whole lot down. They had footage at the end of the documentary where I guess his uncle or somebody woke him up out of his sleep and made him rap, and he wasn't happy about it, but proceeded fresh out of 3 a.m. sleep to get up there and just give us a classic freestyle, man, that I really, really appreciated listening to, where he was just beating on the desk in a certain cadence and just rapping what he had to say. It was constantly powerful when the dude opened his mouth. It was constantly powerful. And you could just see we were robbed. The world was robbed of his talent, but he left us his kid, and she's going on to do great things. And when I say great things, I mean, I believe Flau'jae is the exact draw that the woman's game of basketball needs. She's the exact draw. She is the person that's going to make people like myself watch. Because I'm telling you, that was the first women's college highlights I've ever watched in my life. Was the highlights of this LSU game. And the only reason why I even went over there is because of her. That Caitlyn situation was secondary. I really wanted to know about Flau'jae. I wanted to know what her role was on the team. I want to know how good she is, and that kind of thing. So it was like, okay, the Caitlyn situation, that's controversy, and it's going to be interesting. And the only thing I really had to say to that is I think a lot of people care more about taunting than the kids actually do. I don't think the kids care anything about that at all. I think they grew up in a time where that is not considered bad sportsmanship as much as it was for a lot of us who are grown folks now. You taunt us back then, it's a fight. Certain types of taunts, and we take that heavily. We take that to the chest. These kids grew up in an era where the video games dance every time they shoot the basketball. You know what I mean? Like every time anybody does anything, it's a taunt. It's more about the dance than it is about the shot a lot of times. It's more about what you do afterward than the shot. So when I see stuff like that, and I see the world saying, oh, race card, it's disrespectful when the black girl does it, but it's cool when the white girl does it. That's y'all. That's y'all saying that. Them kids, they ain't thinking like that. They're not thinking like that. They're thinking it's an opportunity to display the culture. This is an opportunity to get back at you for taunting me. And they leave it out there on the court. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just the grown-ups around the situation that have their own old ways that they want to carry forward, where people are race conscious so much and are so wrapped up in it. Their esteem is wrapped up in others as it pertains to whether or not it's appropriate for me to taunt you, whether or not it's appropriate for me to walk around here and say I'm this or that and comfortable. Kids don't care about that crap, man. They've evolved. They've literally evolved past a lot of the stuff that we're doing, and they're waiting for us to get the hell out of here so they can live a much more peaceful life than we would otherwise provide, by reminding everybody that racism and all this other stuff is still a problem. These kids want that stuff to die, and they want to be able to enjoy life without doing it, without dealing with all that. So that's what I think of the generations under me. They don't care nothing about some of the stuff that strokes my ego in a negative way. They don't care about that crap. They're above it, and I'm proud of them. So that's what I got to say to anybody who's mad at Caitlin Clark or the other lady for waving their hand in their face. Lead them kids to their own devices and keep your insecurities to yourself. That's exactly what I have to say to the world. Anyway, so moving forward in regards to this, looking at the situation as a whole, I just felt like this, as I said, this is the draw. This is the draw that's going to bring people to women's basketball, because she's going to connect with people by way of her raps. And she's also extremely talented, as I've already said. Got that same kind of vibe about her, can freestyle all day long. You could catch her holding the trophy if she'll rap for you. You could catch her at the end of the game with the microphone in her hand. She'll rap for you, just like her dad. Get up at 3 a.m, unhappy about it, and still give you something amazing. She got the exact same talent. And so with that talent, if her rapping takes off and her character, and she has charisma already, she's already a star before she even rap. Her charisma is going to make it so that people say, okay, I want to see what Flau'jae's doing on the court. I want to see what she's doing when she freestyles for Sway and them, and I want to see what she does on the court, because she's a dual threat. And so it's one of those situations where that talent could be the number one thing that can be the best thing for the WNBA. That's what I think, and for the college game. Because as of right now, I'm curious to see what happens next with her. I want to see if she goes on to the WNBA. I want to know what team she go to. I'm probably going to want to follow it a little bit. If she goes on to make an album or whatever, I'm going to want to know what's going on with that. So it's like, that might be the thing the WNBA's been waiting for. A dual star that can make people come to the game because they want to see that person. I don't think the game has seen that yet, till right now. And with this lady winning the national championship last night, that just further reinforces the clout that comes with that. You're going to get that energy and that attention in those eyes. So that's what I want to say, man. I just think that this is a natural occurrence to the evolution of women's basketball. I really do believe that. I think all of this spiritual stuff that we're talking about, all of the stuff that led up to it, his father's life, his prophecies, and the fact that my baby's going to be this, and then she grows and becomes that, and all, it's all God moving bigger things around them, bigger things. And that's what I've come to understand when you see these little stories or big stories of people having spiritual energy. As I've said, they had the dream from the mama, and the grandma had a dream, and the son was a prophet, and all that. Trust me, God is moving one of them people towards something that's going to affect a lot of people, and you're going to see it, because that's how he works. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.